All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Old Reader, New Reader. I have a special guest today, and that is my longtime friend, Phil, who I knew before he had this username as a different username, which was Beppo Binks, which I assumed was a One Piece reference. And so I messaged him about it, and it was not a One Piece reference.
Facts, all facts.
But it all worked out because we ended up talking about more stuff after that and realized we both like comic books and a lot of the same things. And, both have an affinity towards DC characters that DC doesn't care about. It is what it is.
A little hurtful, but also facts.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself at all, or I can, or whatever.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
You already laid out a wonderful introduction, but yeah, Wonder Maddie. I met him through cosplay actually. It was for a photo shoot, and we had that conversation, and then like I literally told her, I was like, "You're gonna be one of my best friends." When I find my best friends, I don't give them an option. I'm like, "You're gonna be one of my best friends." But yeah, I play. I mostly does Twitch stream right now. So if you like the vibe, this is the vibe that you get on Twitch, and I stream under the name Shazam the Jam. I've been reading comics since I can remember. I actually have on my wall the first comic my mom bought me. It was a Robin annual, the 1992 annual before he had a monthly. And I still have that very book on my wall. And I have a huge love for DC because, I was big on Robin. And the beautiful thing I love about DC, you can find a character and then they'll have a close relationship with a character. Then you get interested in that character. And it's just a continuous cycle, of kind of like just, it's superhero stuff, but it's family at the same time. And I grew up with that, and I'll always have such a soft spot for those characters.
I love you, Phil. Because I feel like the way you talk about comics is the way that I feel about comics a lot because, one, I think we both really like the family aspect in these characters a lot. But yeah, like for me, I find a character and I'm like, okay, I want to read more of that character. So I do. And then I meet other characters. And so then I read those characters. And it's like this little outstretching web where it's just like, oh, wait, no, I've gone too far.
But you can't stop once you die, you're Aquaman deep. Okay.
Yeah. It's, and that's what happened with DC for me for sure. Because it was just kind of like dipping my toes in one comic, and the next thing you know, I've like collected so many series. I'm like, why do I have this knowledge now? Why do I know these things? I didn't know these things before. I feel like a crazy person.
Yeah, like if there was a college course on the DC universe, I'd feel like I'd pass. Like
I think so.
At least
I believe so.
Sometimes I might not do my homework, but I'm still getting the A's.
yeah, exactly. So Phil recommended the book for tonight, which I'm really glad I did, which is Green Arrow, The Archer's Quest by Brad Meltzer. I don't know if this is my first Brad Meltzer or not that I've read. Ooh, you see the deluxe.
Yes, this was actually on clearance, because the comic shop I go to, they don't like having hardcovers. So they mistakenly ordered the hardcover, but they're harder to push out because of the price. Mm-hmm. So they knocked down the price, and I was like, yes, give me that upgrade.
Yeah, I'd say probably a lot of people in the chat are very similar to me, that there's a lot of like hardcover collectors. We're all about like the deluxe edition or, oversized or omnibus. And
oh
no, I can't see you come back.
My bad. I wiggled the cord. My bad.
And I read it on Comixology, and Comixology has like the regular and the deluxe edition. So I read the regular one because it was $3 cheaper. But yeah, so what else has Brad Meltzer done? I know that name very like he did like JLA or no?
They don't do a lot, but like this was actually and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. This was, I believe, their first DC Comics project. And after that, he went on to write Identity Crisis.
Okay.
And then he wrote 12 issues of Justice League of America.
Oh, okay. So I have read Identity Crisis. I think that's the only other thing I've read. But oh man, I love this. Not to give it away that I love this. And I'm sure that you can provide more context to it than me, but like the gist of this is that, like, from my knowledge, limited of this, like Ollie died. There was a funeral for him and everything, and he comes back.
Oh crap, my bad.
It's okay. And he comes back. He comes back to life somehow, and he's kind of picking up the pieces there, because basically what he wanted to happen in the case of his death was that everything related to him, like all of his, like, any identifying items and whatever, were gone to protect his family. So it's this really interesting book, because, like, at its core, it seems like a very simple thing, but you're dealing with, like, Ollie kind of like looking back on his life, and also having these really interesting conversations with, like, Clark and Roy and Dinah and Conor, and, like, also the way he talks about Hal, which really was really sweet. It was interesting. It's not what I expected it to be when it started out, because at first it was just like, hey, I had this funeral. Are there any pictures? And there's some guy there, and it's Catman. And so I was like, oh, there's some, like, weird thing here going on. And it's like, no, not really. It's more just, like, very Ollie, like, focused and planned, I guess. So where is this in, like, timeline? When did Ollie die? What is
Ollie died in the 90s, so shortly after Superman came back.
Okay.
And he dies in, like, the dumbest but, like, most Ollie way. Okay. So I didn't read Green Arrow a lot back then, but basically there was something where, like, there was a bomb on a plane, and his arm was, like, stuck in, like, something, and Superman comes to, like, save him, and he's like, hey man, I can't get you off of this bomb. The only way I can get it off is if I, like, sever your arm. And Ollie literally goes, like, I would rather die, because he's an archer. So, like, I'm, like, simplifying the crap out of this, but at the same time, it is what it is. And, like, basically, like, the plane ends up exploding and Ollie's dead. Like, and in the books at the time, they were hinting at, like, a new Green Arrow, like, basically, because every comic character has a long lost relative. So he found his long lost son, Conor, who was left at, like, I believe a Buddhist monastery. Yeah. Where he was taught, like, martial arts and, you know, archery. Of course. So Conor ends up, like, taking over the book. Okay. And you kind of had, like, a holy trinity of replacements with, like, Kyle Rayner, Wally West, and Conor. Right. For a while. And Connor's, like, night and day. Like, you know, he's calm. He's doesn't do trick arrows. And at the time, he was, like, the third best martial artist in the DC universe. So he crossed over with, like, Batman books sometimes. But before the book we read, Kevin Smith relaunched Green Arrow and brought back Oliver Queen. Okay. Oh wait, I've read that, I think, actually. It's called Quiver. Maybe I've read it. Oh, doesn't matter. I won't distract from me. Like, I won't go look it up. I'm pretty sure. Jane asked, what happened to Connor Hawke? Did he die, or was he erased in some crisis? Like most characters in DC, when everything rebooted, he's just gone. Yeah, because the main problem, you know, when they had the New 52, they made characters younger. So Ollie was, I believe, in his mid-20s in the New 52. So there's no way he can have an adult son, you know. Yeah. And he wasn't even with Dinah then. So basically, like, they were
with 52, they just rebooted everything, and everyone has to re-meet each other. Roy didn't have a daughter. He had both arms, which when you mentioned like Ollie, you're like, no, I'd rather die than lose an arm. Oh, God, and I was like, Roy is a great archer that only on one arm. Yeah, because Roy loses an arm and still does it. Which that's my man right there. Okay, so that's good context. And so like at this point, Hal's dead. I'm assuming this is like Spectre Hal time. I don't know.
Yeah, because the main reason Ollie was back, they had an event called The Final Night, which recently got re-released.
Okay.
And it's actually a really good event where basically like the sun is dying. And it's, the world is like getting colder and colder. And Superman's like legit lost his powers. Like it's literally coming down to the final nights of Earth. And Hal was Parallax. And I think Hal was the one that reached out. And Hal and Kyle had a very, like, are we fighting or not kind of relationship back then. And Kyle was like, you're the only one that can save us, basically. Like, you have the power to save us. And Hal literally went to say his goodbyes without saying goodbye to people. And one of the things he did was go to Oliver Queen's grave. And then after that, he sacrificed himself to save the Earth. But Quiver went into like a deeper explanation and said he actually like started the means to bring Oliver back at that moment. And like this is a whole nother book we're talking about. But,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, like Hal is gone and he's the Spectre now. And
okay. So I don't even know what to dig into first. Like, so we start out with Oliver basically looking at his own grave and talking to Clark, which, first of all, the dialogue immediately is funny. Throughout this, this book feels such like a real superhero book.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you suggested it because it just really feels like what it is. We're not overcomplicating it. And even though there's like some really good themes, it's still like quippy. It's still silly, but it's still really heartwarming. I was like, oh, yes, I love this. And so, they're talking back and forth, and Clark is being Clark. And so I was like, I really want to know who's at my funeral. And Clark is like, I've died before. I've seen who's at my funeral. You don't want to know, which I think is hilarious, too. Because throughout this book, they mention all the other ones that died, like Wally and Hal. It's like, man, you guys have got to quit. Like dying and like coming back. And then we start connecting with the other characters, like Rory pretty quickly, which I thought was cute. Like, because they do some jobs together. Because he kind of tips off Roy what's happening, but not really. And like he puts on the suit and it's really cute. And their back and forth is cute. Like him calling him Robin at one point because they're just irritated with each other. I love that. Like they're just they're back and forth, and also like thinking back to their past and stuff too, right? Like, man, we were a bunch of idiots having these like 13-year-olds fight crime because we had them like train, but then it wasn't enough. The hit had to be more. It's like, you guys just like shot arrows at each other for fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Ollie. Okay.
The good old days.
Yeah, and I just like this dig into his past, which we start to figure out why as he goes through, but especially like all the mentions of him and Hal, I really enjoyed, which I haven't read like the Green Arrow, Green Lantern stuff yet, which I want to, because I heard that's basically just like a buddy cop movie in a way. Yeah, it's just them kind of like
really good
road tripping. And so I haven't read it, but I know that they have that. And so I think it's really cute. And like they find like the truck, and we find the ring that he gave him, and I'm like, oh, that's just so it's really sweet. But yeah, he's getting all these things from his past, and he's kind of let Roy in on what's going on, but not really. Roy doesn't really know what's happening. Like he goes and he goes to the Arrow Cave, which they make fun of as a name, to get like what we think is just Ollie's like welcome to the Justice League or whatever, and they fight Solomon Grundy there, which is always great. I love seeing Solomon Grundy.
Oh, great guy.
Yeah, great guy, that Solomon Grundy. Born on a Monday, that guy. But
The
then,
original
like, oh, that's Etrigan. Come on.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh man, where's my train of thought? It's coming. But yeah, then we find out that like Ollie didn't trust any of his friends and family with like what his plan was, which was interesting. And I still don't completely have my head wrapped around it and why. Like I get it, but I don't get it. Like he had a plan for if he ever died. Didn't write a will down. Didn't make anything easy. But he entrusted someone with like destroying all the evidence of his life, basically, so he could save his family. But didn't tell Roy, didn't tell Dinah, didn't tell Conor, didn't tell anybody in the Justice League. Because he's like, they'll die eventually. Which, like, sure, but not for a while. Maybe still tell Superman. I think he'll be fine. Batman could take care of it and still be good. But he tells this, I already forgot his name. He's like a villain.
Shade.
He's like the Shade, this like immortal guy. I've never seen the Shade. I have no idea who he is. And like I've barely seen Catman. But yeah.
It's funny about Catman because Catman is written in that book as a joke, but after that, around the time where like Infinite Crisis is coming, they had a book called Villains United. Yeah. And it's the same Catman, but it's like him realizing that he was a joke and he got back into like top peak shape, basically.
Okay.
So then it went on to be like the Secret Six, but like that book kind of just gave Catman like the platform that they needed, basically, to for someone to just say like, "Hey, I'm interested in writing with Catman," and Gail Simone was the one that took him and
she would
like made him an actual threat again.
Oh man, I've got to read that because yeah, I have very minimal like understanding of Catman. I've never read Secret Six. It's on my list of stuff to read this year, but gosh, I mean, it was hilarious. That poor. I mean, that I don't feel sad for that guy, but I do feel bad for that guy because Shade sent Catman on his behalf to the funeral, and he's like the one guy there who doesn't know. So like, okay, we gotta get Catman. Why is he there? And they go, and immediately this guy who's still wearing his like uniform T-shirt, but he's obviously not like in the biz right now. They both shoot him in like the shoulders with arrows. He's like bleeding a ton. And then they talk to Shade for a long time and just leave Catman on the wall just bleeding. It's like, okay.
That's a Green Arrow comic.
And then they just give him so much shit the whole time. And then we see him again later and they give him more shit. Which then he deserved it because he's just being a shitty dude.
Yeah.
But he's like, I fought Batman. And they're like, guys, no, give it up, Catman. Give it up. We get it. You're not fighting Batman right now. Stop.
And probably never again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So DBZ, I'll start reiterating what you said. The Villains United Secret Six feature Catman heavily. He's awesome. He becomes what they call wiener cousins. Wiener cousins with your husband, Roy Harper. Is that like Eskimo brothers? What's a wiener cousin? Oh, okay. All right. So like so Eskimo brothers. So it means when two more dudes have been with the same woman. Was he with Cheshire? Or
oh yeah, Cheshire was in that book as well.
So that must have been it because Roy's only I shouldn't know this. I shouldn't be like, okay, let me just get out my list of like people that Roy's been with. So that's be Cheshire, else it would be like, you know, it can't be Donna, and it's not Hawk Girl, and it's not the girl in Outsiders. So the options are very limited. Okay, Cheshire. That's so funny. Oh, that's a good point. I liked the part where Ollie messes with Kyle.
Yes.
As a Kyle fan, how'd you feel about Ollie and Kyle's little interaction there?
Honestly, I loved it because like Kyle at that time had kind of like finally, you know, legitimized himself as the Green Lantern, you know? Like he proved himself to Wally, like, because him and Wally used to like they did not get along at first, and then they, you know, they became friends. He proved himself to Batman. Most of his career was proving that he was worthy, and he finally feels like he belongs where he is, and Ollie's back, and Ollie's just like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? And I just love the scene because you can relate to Kyle's situation, because everyone's had that moment in life where it's like, what else do I have to do? Like, how much do I have to suffer? How much do I have to prove? And then at the same time, we've had that kind of like point of view of Ollie where it's like, it's not personal towards you. It's just, you, like he said, it's like you're dressing up as my dead best friend for Halloween. That's it. Like, and maybe we haven't had that example in like to that extreme, but we've all had an example where it's just like, it's not you personally, it's something with me personally. And and that's one of the things I love about the book, because the book feels so human.
Yes.
Like comics, like we can get our action from comics, and you know, I love the action as well, but there's going to be so many moments we talk about this book where there's just so many character-driven human moments that just propel a simple story so high. And like, that's one of the scenes right there.
Yeah. Man, Phil, come on the show all the time, please. You said it perfectly. Like, you just said it out of my brain. Yeah, it's just, I love that part because like, it's still funny. Their little thing there. Especially because he tricks him at the end.
Yeah.
But like, but yeah, man, like poor Kyle, because he's really has to overcome so much. And, you know, DC never really gives him a chance to do that. Because he's come in the shot of this, like, really huge legend. Which, you know, we've seen happen with other characters, too. But it's just, and with Hal and Ollie's friendship, that's so much to overcome. Because with the rest of the Justice League, like, probably you and I have even talked about before, too. Like, Justice League is, like, work colleagues versus, like, Titans, which is family, to me.
Yeah.
There are exceptions, though, and I think Hal and Ollie's an exception.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those two are family. And so for him to see that, like, that's a lot for him to overcome. And Ollie's not really emotionally intelligent.
Oh, he's a very flawed character, and that's what I love about him.
Yeah, and they even mentioned that in here, too. Like, he talks to Roy, and he's like, you know, or they mention, you know, when they compare, like, comparing Roy and comparing Conor. You know, he talks about, like, when he's trying to be a better father for Conor, he's like, I wasn't really good for Roy, and I'm not really that great now, but I'm trying to make it better. Like, I'm trying to be a better person with this. I love Ollie. He's complicated, and he's goofy, but he's still, I don't know, he's such an interesting character that I don't think gets enough love a lot of times. Maybe because people just think he shoot bow good. But
I mean, that's true. It's just it's a challenge for a character like Green Arrow. Like, say if like you're writing a Justice League book, you gotta really set up a good scene. Like, depending on what kind of Justice League story you're doing, because I mean, like we always talk about, like, you know, Batman can do this and Batman can do that, but you really got to set up the story well for Batman to have these Batman moments. And I feel like it's a ×2 amplifier when you throw in Green Arrow, because it's Green Arrow and he doesn't have that Batman reputation. So we really got to set up like only Green Arrow can make this kind of shot, or
right,
like something.
No, absolutely. And plus, like, because a lot of people compare Green Arrow and Batman. I think even more so after the TV show, because With the TV show, there's a lot of similarities as far as like personality and a little bit of resources, but like comic book Ollie is so particular because he's got the financial resources, but he doesn't have the smarts of Batman. And his community's different. His family's really different than Batman's family. Yes, they're both bad fathers, but in different ways.
Yes.
I'd say that, Ollie's more of a dad that's doing his best, but probably drinks too much and really likes motorcycles.
Oh man.
And Batman's more of your solemn dad. He was very awkward, doesn't know how to talk. And they both deal with things in different ways. I think Ollie more so with humor when he gets nervous, which even, Roy points out, which I love too, where he's like, no, you're starting to make jokes, which means that you're covering up for something now.
Yeah.
Or you're nervous about something. I see what you're doing. Man, and I loved them interacting because, Ollie's all that Roy has, really. And so when he hears that, especially with how close they are, that he trusted somebody else, a villain, with his will, basically, and not him. It's like, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? And luckily he changes it, which I'm glad. I'm glad they have that talk.
Yeah, I love that
when
part.
He rewrites this whole thing. And he still writes it out to that guy, but crosses out and put Roy, which I really appreciate, because I think after that he's like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. I need to leave this to somebody that it matters to. Especially when you see Conor reading, because Conor doesn't have anything to from Ollie's to go by. And so he gives him his really dorky scrapbook. Roy gives him a scrapbook that he made of his own exploits that happened to involve some Green Arrow stuff too. That's teen magazine with Roy in it. Ugh.
And I love it because Conor and Roy are again two polar opposite personalities, but the thing they have in common is the thing that they always embraced. I didn't read a lot of Conor's Green Arrow, but as far as the interactions I've seen, it's just they've been so welcoming to each other. And I love the overall handling of Roy in this book, because usually if a character or if a writer has an idea, hey man, I need an impact. What kind of character can I who can I hurt? And I just feel like DC just goes through their little index and be like, I got just the guy for you. His name's Roy Harper.
I've got a recovering addict that we can mess up.
And I love how Brad Meltzer just handles Roy as a character, and also how Ollie has to realize how he needs to treat Roy. I feel like this was one of the first books that really had Ollie treat Roy as an equal. And Ollie in a way just kind of realizing I missed him growing up right in front of my eyes. And he just the little nods about hey, I was the same age as you are when the Justice League asked me to join, or the symbolic we're gonna shoot arrows at each other at the same time. And I just love it because the shots are off because they haven't done this in a while, and he's just I'm taller. He's maybe you're shorter now. And it's just you're so used to him being your sidekick. And even just the simple nods of the arrows don't align anymore because he's grown up right in front of you. And so he's more than valid to be hurt by this, because he's who is the one guy who has your back every time? And you sideline me every time. And it's I love it. And I love that they gave him this was the start of giving him the domino mask back. Because Roy at that time was rocking no shades and thought he was the coolest guy.
Man. I wish I had, it's all downstairs, it has been unpacked, but I have the singles from the Arsenal only comic book. It's 4 issues. That. And it is so 90s, and his shades are it's ridiculous looking. But it felt okay, now it felt like a true transition to how he should look and be. ugh, I can't even think about their relationship too much without getting like. Roy makes me cry, so I'm like, don't cry, don't do it. Let's catch up with the chat really quick. Does Wonder Maddie have a crush on Ollie now? Ready to give up Roy for Ollie? LOL, JK. Never. Never. I love Ollie, but I love Roy. Carly asks, are there any examples of good superhero parents? I would say Superman.
Honestly, Rebirth Superman, Super Dad. I call that book Super Dad. That's not
Which
even
is why I
Superman.
love it. That's why it's good.
Like that was one of the most human books out at the time. Like,
oh, it's perfect, man. Superman Rebirth, Super Sons, like
those were
before Rebirth, you know, went down the toilet and didn't exist anymore. Ugh, the beginning Rebirth.
Yeah,
So
definitely
good.
Superman. I mean, that's such a good question because there's not a lot of good superhero parents.
No, like I can't even think of any more in DC. Because if you went in Marvel, I'd be like sometimes the Fantastic Four.
I would say Invisible. I was thinking her. I think Invisible Woman is a good mom.
Yeah.
I don't think Reed is a good dad.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I would say Roy Harper's a great parent.
Honestly, yes.
I think he's a very good parent.
Yeah.
And I stick by that. And they'll never let us have her again because he's dead. Arya says Batman probably sucks at chili, though. Exactly. And that shows how they're two different types of parents.
Does he suck at chili, though? Because he'll probably tell Alfred to make the chili. So,
well, he's not. Yeah, exactly. They make his own chili. But Batman even eat chili. I've seen him at a fast food place, and he was uncomfortable. And he used to fork and a knife. It's good. Paul Baker says Ollie puts his kids before his city. Bruce puts his city before his kids, and both screw up both of those things regardless. Yep.
I mean, facts.
Timmy says, as Ollie says to Batman in JLU, I don't belong here. I fight for the little guys. Which I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it brings a lot more relatable stories with, you know, the fact that Green Arrow is fighting the battles that don't involve like a monster, you know?
Yeah. I think that's important. I think it's, you know, people devalue that a lot. But like, there's regular people that need stuff too.
Yeah.
And that's why we end up with like these other groups that aren't the Justice League doing stuff like Outsiders or, you know, smaller groups.
And I'm interested because I know when Justice League comes back after Future State, Green Arrow is actually going to be the leader. So, I really wonder with how this approach is going to go. Bendis is writing it, so I'm sure he's going to tell us in a lot of text bubbles because that's what, like a lot.
I love you, Phil. Man. Oh, there's one more comment I forgot. Oh, Elliot, I do agree. Can we all agree that Ralph Dibny would be the best father?
Yes.
If Ralph and Sue had been given a chance.
And it's funny because that's the same writer.
I'm glad that he put them in there. I was like, oh, because I love Ralph and Sue. I have such a soft spot in my heart for Ralph and Sue because of Identity Crisis. Most of Identity Crisis, I understand people don't like it, but the beginning of their love story when they talk about it, that's.
I actually share that every Valentine's Day.
It's so beautiful.
It's so good.
The way he's like, she's seen Clark Kent's blue eyes, right? And she's met Batman. She's seen, the flashes to his little face, but she loves me. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm trying to think what the other stuff to talk about. We have to talk about Dinah.
Oh yeah.
It broke my heart. Because he was going to propose and ultimately decided not to.
Yeah, and like I always love Green Arrow and Black Canary as a couple because it wasn't always simple with them. And, you know, because Ollie does stupid things.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Dinah gets so mad that he does stupid things sometimes. Rightfully so, though. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
But, like, they know they love each other. And they try to make it work. But sometimes it's just like, you know, Dinah is in a place where she's like, I grieved, and you know, I moved on, and now you're back. And you know, she as a character needs to ease into that, you know, because when he was gone, I don't believe they were on the best of terms. But you know, she was always the one. He, you know, his pretty bird, and
yeah,
it's just like I just love it because I love the complication of their love.
Well, they're real.
Yeah.
Compared to other like superhero couples that are all, like destined to be, they feel very real and they feel mature. Like, you know, Lois and Clark, that's your like, I don't know, rom-com romance. It feels like a lot of times, which is not, it's not a bad thing. I'm glad it's like that. And then you've got, you know, Batcat, which is complicated to be complicated.
Oh God.
DC.
Bruce, stay complicated.
I know. They're like, we can't be happy, so we can't like marry her.
Oh, do not get me started on that. Oh my God.
I know. I have a lot of saved voice messages of me just being like, I'll kill Top King. But they feel real, and they always feel like they're forever. Like they just feel like a real human couple that deals with things, and they fall out and they get back together, and they talk to each other in really like respected ways. I feel like, because they respect that each other's different, and they're not always together, which I like too. They'd be like, "Oh, we're together, but we're not physically in the same place. We're all doing our own thing right now."
Yeah.
And I really like that. Like I just their dynamic is so unique, and the Arrow family is so unique compared to the rest of the families, and also they feel like a real family compared to the other ones.
Oh yeah.
Like they really do spend time together, and they really care about each other, and the falling out never lasts that long. They're always going to end up at the same family functions. Like I remember a couple years ago, there was like before Arsenal died, there was a Christmas issue that they all spent Christmas together in a little like cabin or whatever. It was really cute.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Like, man, I love them. But yeah, like that whole thing was so sad because it was such a cute little interaction, because he surprised her and took her to Seattle, where she's from. And instead of doing a fancy dinner, he made her his famous chili. And he was about to propose, but she's like, "Do you have any other surprise in that little bag of yours?" And I think at that point he realized, like, I can't put this on her again. Especially when he already had the intent that he did to, like, die again, I guess. Again, I have no context.
Mindset, it's a selfish move in that mindset.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm only doing this for me right now. Because he didn't have a chance to tell her how he felt before everything happened. It's like, I can't tell that now, knowing that I'm just going to leave again. But still, it's like, no. Do it. Stay with her.
It's such a quick read, but like there's so many moments that stick with you.
Yeah. Like, I think this is going to be one of my favorites for a long time. Like, I'm really glad you recommend it, because I don't know that I would have picked it up. I wouldn't have known to.
It's not talked about a lot, because like when people tell you, like, you know, every person has a list of like, these are the books you need to read if you're interested in this character.
Yeah.
And around this time, if someone's going for a Green Arrow story, you're going, oh, well, you need to know the story of how he came back. And technically that's the order that you can read it. But like when I jumped on Green Arrow, I jumped on pretty late into that whole Kevin Smith run.
Yeah.
Like I jumped in like, I think literally the first issue I picked up was the last issue. And it was like a 10-issue run. And I jump in, but like the beauty of like jumping on comics like that, like back then, like the beauty, like you can jump into a book and have no idea what was going on, but you can still somewhat enjoy it
Yeah.
because like it still told enough a great story within the confines of being a multi-issue story.
Hmm.
And what got me interested in reading like Ollie Green Arrow actually was he guest starred in the 2-issue arc with Hawkman. And I was back to like that whole DC connection thing. Um, and I was reading Hawkman because I was reading JSA because that book was fantastic back when
I've
it was
got to
out.
pick it up.
It surprised me how like I picked it up randomly one day and I was just like I'm here to stay.
Yeah, everyone tells me.
It's worth it. But yeah, like I saw him in guest star in Hawkman for 2 issues, and I'm like, let me see what Ollie's all about. And then that arc was one of the next ones, and after that, I stayed on for that entire run. Like I that book made me feel like I was getting to know an old friend, and I just met them.
Yeah. I can feel that. Like these are the kind of stories I like the most. Like I think you're right that if someone said like, okay, here's the Green Arrow stories that you have to read, they probably would have picked this one. But this is the kind of stuff I like, where it's not all about the action; it's more about just human interactions and exploring that. It's like I say on the show all the time. Like if you gave me a comic book that's just the superheroes, like I don't know, going to Costco, I would love it. It'd be a 10 out of 10 favorite for me because those are the kind of stories I want to hear about. I want to explore those relationships so that when there is the big event, I care more. When there is like the death or whatever, it matters to me. So I love those little interactions, and that's what I'm going to remember the most. Like, and I'm not even the hugest Ollie fan, but I loved this, and that's different now. Now I'm like, after reading this, I'm like, okay, I need to go ahead and pick up Green Lantern, Green Arrow because I really want to read it, and like, let's go ahead and read more because I've read like New 52 Green Arrow and Rebirth, and I think I've read Quiver, but I'm not sure. But now I'm like, man, I just want to read everything.
Yeah, and that's how I felt like after reading this, like that's what led me to read, the Green Lantern, Green Arrow team ups. And then I read like one of the biggest Green Arrow stories that is recommended is the Longbow Hunters, and that took place like or where Mike Grell was like taking over, and that was like the 80s and the 90s. And I enjoyed those. Like they're so well written, and this book just opened up so many possibilities as far as like I want to learn more about this character.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we hang out with just the chat, it is over your new tradition that we give this a rating out of 10.
Oh no.
And for me, I think it's perfect as it is. So I give it a 10 out of 10 personally. And for me, like a 10 out of 10 isn't always like, is this the best written comic ever? No, it's not about that. To me, it's like, does this give me everything that I wanted? Do I really, really enjoy it? Maybe it's not like top 10 of my best comics ever in the world, but for me, it's a 10 because I really liked it. And that's not me blowing smoke up your butt either for you, like recommending it and joining me. I would tell you if I didn't, but I really, really like it.
I mean, I kind of have to agree because like this isn't a crisis. This isn't like a book that changed, like like those taglines like the future is about to change going forward, or things will never be the same, or like it's not one of those. But like if I want a book where someone says I'm interested in comics and I don't know where to start, I see you read some comics. What is a comic that really just made you kind of just proud to be a comic fan? And this is one of the books that I'm going to recommend, because you can recommend this then, even if someone's not into superheroes. It's such a well written story and such a character-driven story that you can relate to certain parts of.
Yeah.
The whole story may not relate to, but there's something relatable in each one of these issues for somebody.
Oh, absolutely. And all it takes is one.
Yeah.
All it takes is one relationship with a character in a book to make it matter and make you relate to it. And that's all it takes and you know, it's a downward spiral, and then you have all this stuff and figures and prints. And
Yeah, and then you're saying, why am I pre-ordering all this stuff?
oh my gosh, I can't even think about it. Looks like a lot of people in the chat agree. DBZ All-Star gave it 10 out of 10. Elliot said ratings are dumb. DBC also said 10 took arrows out of 10 took arrows.
I like that.
Jessica Ashcraft said 9 out of 10, love this era, love this story, family feels for the win. She also was like, Maddie, the best way to get over this is to go read the Green Arrow, Black Canary book, which I need
to. Yeah, they did have a book for a while.
Yeah. I always see it in stores and I never pick it up, and I need to because I love them. Jaden gave it 9 out of 10. The personal superhero stories inspired my story, The Violet Crusader. Emotion and character over action. But Jessica did say 10 out of 10 to Phil's insights and review.
Oh,
I know, you killed it. Like, I'm already like, okay, I hope you want to come on once a month and hang out with me, Phil, because
I mean, I would be honored because I miss you and I miss having our talk. Too. So as long as you're willing to have me and put up with me.
I guarantee the minute this show's over, I'm going to go talk to Ellie and be like, I love Phil. He's so great. That's what I do when I see friends again. After so long, I'm like, why are they so good? But I'm not going to cry live. I'll cry after. Yeah, DBC, I messed that is Arrow, Green Arrow, and DC. He also asked, I'm sorry, I shouldn't assume DBZ All-Star just because you like DBZ. Phil, what else do you want Maddie to read for old reader, new reader? You've got great taste. So if you were to come back, which I'm going to ask you to come back, what would be another story you'd recommend?
Oh, man, I wasn't ready for that. I'm like looking back at all the books.
That's what happens.
I mean, to kind of keep the vibe going, one thing I would ask, did you actually read the Brad Meltzer Justice League run?
No, but I think you told me to, right?
I would definitely, like, if I were to come back, if you would have me.
Oh, no, I will have you.
One book that I would definitely recommend, Brad Meltzer's Justice League of America run.
Okay.
Some collections have it split into 2 volumes. They just came out with a deluxe edition that combines it all together.
Yeah.
But if you love how this book was handled and you kind of want to see your characters handled the same way, you know, instead of just like a Green Arrow story, it's a character-driven Justice League story.
Absolutely.
And especially if you like some of the things, like there's callbacks. For that run, there's callbacks to this book we're talking about right now. So you'll love the continued growth. I don't want to go into full detail, but I would definitely recommend that one.
Okay, cool. I would love that. 10 out of 10 want Phil to come back. So everyone's already in agreement.
Guys are going to make me emotional.
We got good people here. So whenever like we get a good guest, they're like, yes. So don't be surprised. Aria also agrees. You've been great tonight. Now I'm just checking this book out.
Oh.
Joe says slightly related. Ollie and Injustice is amazing as well, in my opinion.
Yes.
I have the omnibus. I still haven't read it.
Injustice is good, but
I love Ollie.
Oh, sorry.
In the games.
Yes. Injustice 2 was beautiful, honestly.
So good. I don't even like fighting games, but I can play the hell out of some Injustice 2.
Oh, yeah. I played that for like a year straight.
Oh, so good.
It's funny because when I played that, my 2 like I'm playing serious characters was Supergirl, because you know I love me Supergirl, and Black Canary. And if I was playing it and someone would be like bragging, I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I picked them, and then someone like, oh crap, Phil called his mom, Black Canary's coming out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just play Wonder Woman.
I mean, that Wonder Maddie, Wonder Woman. That makes sense.
I feel like you were the first one to call me Wonder Maddie.
I was. I changed your nickname on Facebook. I was like, you're
Well,
now Wonder Maddie.
yeah. So that's the reason I chose that name, because everyone else was like trying to get me to do like alliterations, like Marvelous Maddie or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, Wonder Maddie makes sense. That's the most fitting.
Yeah, I mean,
the titles. So thank you. It's all due to Phil, everybody. He's the reason.
It's full circle.
Okay, some DBZ also mentioned the deluxe hardcover too. I'll have to pick that up. Yeah, Carly said, yes, please come back.
Oh.
Joseph Phil's a keeper. Carly said Green Arrow would win unless we're talking about Kate Bishop, LOL.
Oh, there would be a lot of sassy back talk between the two of them.
I wish DC and Marvel would do their crossovers again, just so I could get interactions like that.
Yeah, I wish I had took better care of my JLA Avengers, because I was like, oh, I'll just buy it when it's collected, and I'm like, oh, so y'all really fighting, and I can't buy it now.
And now, like, and we talk about a lot on this channel, but like, even if things do get collected, I'm like, am I going to be able to still get it day of? or is it going to sell out in minutes?
That is true.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to that stress. Because there's a few books I want this year, and I'm like, please. Like Gail Simmons' Batgirl Omnibus and All New Wolverine Omnibus. I just got into Star Wars. So good. And so I've got to get those omnibuses. I didn't want that in my life. I didn't need another thing. So upset.
I got to buy another shelf, actually, just for someone, because I'm still, like, I moved last year.
Yeah.
But there's still stuff back in, like, my old place. Like, I stayed at home to help out my mom on disability until she was ready to go out. But, like, there's so much stuff I still want to bring back.
Well, if you have any advice for setting up a room, I mean, ignore this. I'm in the process. But I promise that I do have good taste. It doesn't show in my house that I moved into like 4 months ago.
No, I like the background. It looks like a top 10 anime battle took place in the background. I love it. You know, we all love our top 10 anime fights.
Yeah, the goal is this will be my new desk. And it'll go on the wall, and I'll put a bookshelf behind me, so I don't have to go film in the comic book room. I can like have stuff upstairs.
You'll get there one step at a time.
Oh, just commit to the pre-order, Maddie, for your mental health. Those get canceled too, and that I don't know when to pre-order or where. And like Freddie was telling me, but it's still complicated. I'm just confused.
I have pre-ordered the collection of Impulse. Like, this is the third time they've canceled this book so many times. I'm like, just give me the books. Like, at this point, I'll take one of those like little baby digest ones. Just give me the book.
Yeah, I'm thankful at least like that stuff's on like DC Universe. That app has saved me. Honestly.
Oh yeah,
it's a good app. It's so good.
It is.
So I have a question. Is there anything lately you've been checking out or reading, or I know you've been gaming a lot, but like you've been reading anything?
Man, comics, they aren't complicated, but I feel like they're much more complicated than they have to be right now. Like
100%.
At
least current stuff.
Yeah.
Is complicated.
Like, I'm still getting some of the DC stuff, but like the main problem I have with DC right now, and I notice a lot when I see some of my friends' conversations, like talk about like how a character should be and everything. There's been so many revisions as far as say like how Wonder Woman would act, that like no one's necessarily wrong in these conversations anymore. And like DC it's an interesting time for DC, but like a frustrating time, because I feel like they don't know if they want to be the universe of hope or the darkest timeline.
Oh, absolutely. Hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And, you know, because like you had Rebirth, and Rebirth was like, oh my God, we're getting back to the core of what made these characters great. and we're embracing it while also embracing the things that worked.
It was
And it's going good, and then Tom King, and then all of
Thank
a
you.
sudden all of a sudden we're going back to these darkest timelines, or like we're losing hope again, and characters are fighting characters, and that's good. Like, character drama is good too, but it's just it seems like right now, and again, because I love DC, but I feel like they throw darts at a board and
Oh,
they
absolutely.
see what sticks. Like, I just don't feel a long-term plan with some of these books right now.
No, absolutely. Because yeah, I came into comics when Rebirth was starting, and it was beautiful. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, DC is so good. There's so many cool stories. And so immediately I was like, I love DC. I'm a DC fan first, and I still am, even if I'm not up to date, and I haven't been for like 2 years. And Heroes in Crisis was the last nail in the coffin for me, and so it's been hard to recover. And so it's me reading a lot of like non-continuity stories
Yeah.
mostly.
Those have been very relaxing, honestly.
Yeah, like Supergirl being super perfect, such a
Mhm.
great book. A lot of like the graphic novels, not all of them, some of them kind of iffy, but there's some good ones. Um, those are really fun, and like even some of like the Black Label stuff has been good. But yeah, like there's been a lot of just like edgy to be edgy, it feels like stuff, which is still
Yeah.
good, but it just feels like such a detraction from where we were. And we just lost so many characters and storylines. And I still haven't recovered. I hope Future State's the answer to that. I don't know. But it's so short, so I don't know.
It's kind of all over the place, because a lot of it is darkest timeline stuff again. So
Yeah.
um I see interesting ideas, but I don't know. Like, it bounces back and forth between like what kind of universe do we want, and
Yeah.
it gets exhausting after a while. Like, even some of like their other media, like um and like the fans are the ones that are caught in the crossfire, because then you got your fans like, I like it this way, and this is the way that these characters are, and then you're just like, man, I read this book and they were really nice, and like you'd be like, not my Ollie.
Yeah. Which I get. And there's just us. It's just like I really like these two. I like these few characters that were in Titans. It'd be really cool if they weren't all dead or murderers.
That
I don't
too.
ask for much. I just want them to hang out and be happy. That's
Yeah.
it. That's
Like,
it.
I would I would kill for just kind of like how you said, like a book of superheroes going to Costco. Like, I just want to see like a few characters meet meet for brunch or something, and then
Yeah.
they get distracted, and kind of like in the book, like Clark was talking to Green Arrow as Clark, and
Yeah.
then he turns around like, did you hear that? And then he's like,
'Cause
hear
it's just
what? And the next panel, he's in a Superman outfit.
which
Like,
man, how funny was that? Because he was just like, I need to get out of this situation. Like, did you hear that? This happened. And I was like, that didn't happen. He's like, well, yeah, that didn't happen, but this other thing actually did happen. Just so you get out of the awkward situation.
yeah. Like, those were the interactions that I miss. Like, not
Oh,
everything has to be a team up. Some
yeah.
things were just meeting. Like, I remember back when I was big into like the Wally West Flash books, there was 2 issues where Nightwing and Starfire visited. It wasn't hyped up as an event or anything. They visit him because they're friends. Like, and you got mullet 90s Nightwing,
The
teaming
best.
up with the Flash.
Yep.
God, that mullet.
He's made some interesting choices
But
for sure.
evidently the mullet is 50% confidence. So
Yeah. I
so
mean, Superman rocked it too, you know.
yeah.
They've all been there. Adam makes a good point. Far Sector is a good reprieve from the gloom and doom. Yeah, I think
That's a good one.
Far
That's a good
Sector
one.
is amazing, and they better always do stuff with her. And I think some of those other books, like Naomi, was great. Some of those like that's the thing, like those kind of like messy, is it continuity, is it not continuity books that I like. And someone asked how I felt about Yara Flor in future state. I don't remember who. Oh, Jaden. Hey, Maddie, as the Wonder Woman expert, do you have any thoughts on Yara Flor? I think she's great. I think she's real pretty and she's funny. And I like that she has a Pegasus named Jerry. Done. That's all I need from a book. I don't care what she does. Yeah.
I think she's coming back as like Wonder Girl after all that is done.
I think that's a smart decision, especially with CW, like sight unseen was like, yep, we'll do a show.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, because a lot of the shows are older, so they need things to kind of bring in new people. So
yeah, which is smart now. Like everything's canceled.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss Black Lightning.
I know. I was like, the other ones I get. I still blame that on DC not crossing over like the show with everything else right away. I'm still upset about it.
Honestly, I was okay with it because, like, I was just like, the further Felicity stays away from Black Lightning, the better.
That is true. I forget that show exists. Like, and not to dog on it too much, but I wasn't a big fan of Arrow.
I liked it until
Legends a lot.
I watched the first season of Legends, but I never went back to it.
Ooh, see, the first season's bad. Just watch all the other ones. It's so comic booky. Like, it's ridiculous. It's when I say there's a whole episode where they're in IKEA. The show is hilarious and nonsensical and really fun. It's exactly how it is a comic book show, for sure. Just quips. Everywhere you look is quips. You want drama? Not here. I mean, it's there, but not like Arrow drama, not like Flash angst. It's just some friends hanging out. Just go watch Legends.
All caps.
It's so good. Oh my gosh, so good. So we're reached end of time, but there's a question that Carly asked that I want your answer to too. Who do you prefer Nightwing with, Starfire or Batgirl?
So I kind of got two answers for that. One is like a further question. Is Nightwing good enough for Starfire? Because I've yet to find a person that's good enough for Starfire. Man, but here's the thing. I love Nightwing, but Nightwing's a little toxic. I love Nightwing, but Nightwing is a little toxic sometimes. And he's like oblivious toxic. He's just like, he keeps like knowingly or unknowingly showing up in Barbara's life right when she has an idea of what she wants to do. And he's just like,
yes.
Hey, Babs, I was thinking about you. And, he's like, remember that time I was robbing? And yeah. So, you want to come?
He's such a fuck boy. He really is. And I love him, but he's such a fuck boy.
And he treats Starfire like a silver medal so much. Like, he treats Barbara like the one, but if Barbara's not the one, then Starfire is my backup plan. And I hate it. Like, I love Nightwing, but he's a little toxic. And I still read my Nightwing books and everything. Like, I'm not saying cancel the man or anything, but he's just so like unknowingly damaging to these women.
Yeah. It's the curse of being the firstborn to Bruce Wayne, really.
Yeah.
He's just the golden boy never learned. Tim Drake would never.
Yeah, Tim is just like, I really like Steph. And some people think I'm dating Superboy, but no. But he's like, Steph is my one.
Yeah, I think like Tim Drake's probably demisexual. He's like, I like this one person and I'm done now.
Yeah.
And then Nightwing's like, I mean, I'm not physically in the same location as Starfire right now, so I can still flirt with Babs, right? And Babs like, you're literally dating Miss like Fire Hair, and why are you here? You quit it.
Like, Nightwing is the guy where, like, he's like, I'm gonna leave this girl alone. And then he sees that they changed their relationship status on Facebook. And then he goes like, hey, man, you know, I'm real happy for you. You know, wish it could have been me, but we would have really been great together. But yeah, you know, like, good luck with that.
This guy. At least, you know, the one thing I can appreciate about him is that he and Donna are just friends.
Oh, yeah.
They're just bros. And I am very appreciative of that because the same can't be said for the rest of the guys in the crew. But he and Donna are just friends.
Yeah.
That's
probably because he's scared of Donna, too.
He should be. He should be. Roy's too quote unquote innocent to be scared. He's like naive in that way.
Yeah.
Not in any other way, but that way. Same as Lovely. And Kyle was just so cool. I mean, she couldn't not go with Kyle.
I love them, like, those two together. And when they were on the same team, like during the Titans thing again, I'm like, those were the two characters I wanted to issue, just them going to like grab a cup of coffee and just like just getting to reintroduce themselves to each other, because they had a human relationship and they were together at the wrong time. Like, they both had some personal stuff they had to deal with, and they found comfort in each other. Doesn't necessarily mean it was the right time, but they were such a good couple.
That's how I felt about Roy and Starfire. Now,
yeah, they were actually pretty sweet.
You know, I can't condone anyone buying those books unless they're secondhand. But I really appreciate their relationship in that book. Everyone's like, oh, Starfire's a slut. I was like, she only ever slept with Roy. And they were just friends that slept together. It wasn't a big thing. It was a very real,
Nightwing
normal
can do it and gets high fives.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's these comic book fans. They're just the cool ones are in here. It's the ones that'll find this later and comment and be like, how dare you say that?
Yeah, you gotta sadly with stuff you like, you gotta watch who you talk to it with, because they'll just turn something into an argument for the sake of arguing, and you're like, I thought we were vibing. Like, now
it happens all the time. It's always sad. Like, oh man, it was going so well, and they'll be like, I thought it was cool, but like, does a story just have to be because she's a woman? Like, okay, well, like, yeah, Maddie, I really like your comments, and I'm all for diversity, but I'm like, no.
Oh yeah, when it comes with a butt, it's just like, oh boy.
I'm gonna look at the internet about Tim Drake right now. I was like, I can't even look at it. I don't even know.
Oh yeah.
It's like, get over it.
The thing I'm most devastated about Tim Drake being casted actually is that I actually have to catch up on that show now. I tried watching that show. It's hard.
I watched all of season 1 except for the last episode, and like, I wanted to keep watching just for Donna, but the things I heard that happened because somebody told me, I was like, I can't watch it. I'm too scared even for her. And they even name drop Roy. Like, she gets a text from him. I'm like, could it be, you know, because I'll watch anything for him. Even more so than Donna. Like, I can't live this life. Stargirl exists. It's a better Titan show. Just everyone watch Stargirl.
Stargirl was actually pretty surprising.
Like, I know.
I came into it, I felt like I was like stepping over some broken glass, but like, I was like, you know what? There's no broken glass here. We can walk. You know, we're comfortable.
Nothing's gonna happen to me here. I'm safe.
Like, the neighbor across the street waves, and you're just like, hey.
Yeah, you're like, they're gonna ruin this. They're gonna ruin this, right? But then they don't. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Paul says about Titans, don't bother, Phil. It keeps tricking you into thinking it's getting better, but the end of season 2 ends up even worse than season 1.
I've never had a show that has so many characters I care about that I can't watch.
I know, and I even tried. When people were hating on it before it came out, I was like, guys, don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just going to be different, you know?
Yeah, like like I said, I only watched the first 2 episodes, and like
That's
first
enough.
off, there's no such thing as a bad character. It's only bad writing. I get
Oh,
that. But
absolutely.
you cannot, no matter how well you write them, you cannot make me care about Hawk and Dove. I'm sorry. I I have less than zero interest in Hawk and Dove. I'm
I still
sorry.
can't believe it. And honestly, the best episode I saw of that season was a Hawk and Dove only episode, which is saying something.
And the person who plays Dick Grayson like has like not every version has to be like, the source material, because otherwise you would just
Yeah.
have a million copies of the same thing. But the Dick Grayson in that show has the charisma of a dry sponge. And like there is no moisture. This is
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is not Dick Grayson. This is not Wonder Boy. You know?
like if that man told me to go, if he said Titans together, I would be like, you know what? I think Titans, some of them over there, and I'm just gonna stay over here. Like,
There's a reason why Cyborg stayed with Doom Patrol instead of like coming to hang out with you all.
I
Like,
love Doom Patrol too. Like
Doom Patrol's good.
it
All
embraces
things good.
its weirdness. Like be weird. Be a comic book. Don't be ashamed of it.
Yeah, exactly. Man. Welcome to Old Reader New Reader Times. Well, eventually, if you have me and Phil in the same show, eventually it's just gonna become like, can we just talk about our Titans
Like
that
I'm
no one
sorry,
cares
but I'm
about?
not. I'm like, look. I mean, look at the shirt I got. I got
It's a
Disco
great
Dick
shirt.
on. You know.
It's a good shirt. All right. If I keep going, we'll talk forever. So we'll
I
wrap it up,
apologize. I'm sorry.
no, I love this, but don't go anywhere, folks. Just so you know, the way this works, if I hit end broadcast, we're still here.
Okay.
So I don't want you to like leave at the end. Thank you all, everybody, for watching, and thank you, Phil, again for joining. If you want to catch Phil on any of his like on Twitch stream or on his socials, we did put his Twitch link and his Twitter in the description. You can see it down there. You should check him out, and he'll be coming back because he doesn't have a choice now that he's agreed. And because I'm going to ask him like every month if he's free. I hope you like this video. Subscribe for future videos. We are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Old Reader New Reader. If you're catching us later, comment down below what you thought of the book. Next week is, oh my gosh, y'all, I should really be better at remembering what the books are. I literally make the ads for them. I have to like open up my Canva to see what it is. I'm so sorry, everybody. 1 second. Okay, next week is Barbarian Lord by Matt Smith. And my friend Lee is joining, and also Chris Schweitzer, who is from Kentucky, and he's also the artist on, oh my gosh, Mars Attacks. He works with Kyle Starks a lot. He's a really cool guy. Okay, and that's the spiel. Thank you all so much for joining. I will see you all next week, and thank you again, Phil, for hanging.